Alright, what's up guys? Hey, I'm bringing you this video today because I want to respond to some of the recent attacks on Gary Johnson. Basically, the other day, of course, everybody's seen this, Gary failed to name his favorite foreign leader, which caused quite a stir. So let's go ahead and run the, I want to run the clip just in case anybody didn't actually see it for themselves, and we can judge whether or not he really made a huge gaffe here. Okay, let's go.
Who's your favorite foreign leader?
Who's my favorite?
Just name anywhere in the country, any one of the continents, any country. Name one foreign leader that you respect and look up to. Anybody.
Mine was Shimon Peres.
No, okay, I'm talking about living. Go ahead. You got to do this. Anywhere, any continent. Canada, Mexico, Europe, over there, Asia,
he
South
starts
America,
going on and on.
Africa. Name a foreign leader that you respect.
I guess I'm having an Aleppo moment in the former president of Mexico.
But I'm giving you the whole world.
I know.
Anybody in the world you like. Anybody. Pick any leader.
The former president of Mexico.
Okay, so right there it's obvious that he had somebody in mind. He wanted to name Vicente Fox, but the name didn't come to his mind, which, you know.
Which one?
I'm having a brain.
Name anybody.
Fox, Zedillo.
Okay, who's your favorite foreign leader? Get him off the hook. Name a foreign leader you respect.
He was terrific.
Any foreign leader.
Merkel.
Okay, Merkel.
Okay, so there we have. There's the actual clip. So what we see there is Chris Matthews on a show Hardball. Just, you know, you can tell as soon as Gary didn't answer the question, Chris Matthews is like, all right, I got him, and he starts rambling on. I think he may have said Geisha, which isn't really a place. But anyway, so full disclosure, I don't ever watch Chris Matthews Hardball, so I don't know if that's his shtick. That's how Hardball works. But you know, is it fair treatment of Gary on the show? I don't really think it was, and I don't think the other candidates get this kind of scrutiny. But let's cut to 2008 Chris Matthews and see how much disdain he had for candidates back then. So let's check this out.
I can tell you, it's part of reporting this case, this election. The feeling most people get when they hear a Barack Obama speech. I felt this thrill going up my leg.
Okay, so, you know, that's a little bit of a different approach to a candidate. You know, maybe hardball means something that I wasn't aware of. It certainly seems to in 2008. All right. So here's the thing. Everybody's going on about this. I did this last video about the debate, did my debate recap, and I said I wasn't really going to chop up the debate and use clips from it. But what I wanted to do here is sort of contrast what we're seeing in treatment of the other candidates and the ridiculous things that they say for Gary versus the old party candidates. And the reason I want to do that is because the old party candidates are saying some ridiculous crap that doesn't make any sense at all. And nobody's taking them to task on it. Whereas when Libertarian Gary Johnson, when he says, well, you know, what's Aleppo? They clearly didn't frame the question as, what would you do about Syria? Which he would have answered just fine. But okay, no excuses, fine. Maybe he should have answered that. He's also not getting briefings from the GSA. So, you know, that's something. The other candidates are getting these briefings from GSA. And right there, when he was denied these briefings, now we're seeing that a government administration is treating the candidates differently. So, honestly, they have a hand in picking who the top performing candidates are, which I think is wrong. So, if you don't think that's wrong, let me know, because I don't understand what your justification might be. All right. So let's go to the debates and what we see the other candidates saying. And I did these kind of out of order. We're going to go to Hillary because when I did my debate recap, I was really hammering on Donald Trump. But let's play some comments from Hillary, and I'm going to break it down real quick, kind of as we go along, and how ridiculous this crap is. Media doesn't say one thing about it. You don't see one thing in the news about how dumb this is. Check this out.
Let's stop for a second and remember where we were 8 years ago.
Okay, 8 years ago, while Chris Matthews is having a tingling feeling up his leg.
We had the worst financial crisis, the Great Recession, the worst since the 1930s. That was in large part because of tax policies that slashed taxes on the wealthy, failed to invest in the middle class, took their eyes off of Wall Street and created a perfect storm.
Okay. So here you have now she's painting a picture of the economic crisis that happened in 2008. Okay, good. This is a perfect thing to talk about. She's not even giving the Paul Krugman version of the events. She's tax policy, lowering the taxes on wealthy people is what caused the housing bubble to burst. I mean, what was it? A whole bunch of wealthy people that had too much money left over from not paying the federal government that they went out and borrowed and invested in all these houses that they couldn't afford. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is not even okay. And then, there's a couple sides of this. There's the Keynesian view of economics, the supply side. I sort of reject that, but you could say, okay, it's a difference in policy, opinion, or whatever. No. This is just idiocy. She almost hints at the deregulation myth at the end there, but still, that explanation, I mean, she might as well just say that, tax policy caused the war in Iraq or something. This is ridiculous. Okay. Complete misunderstanding of the issue, or just misstating it for her purposes here. Let's keep going.
Did not work. It got us into the mess we were in.
Okay, we've never actually had this trickle-down economics, but
2008 and 9. Slashing taxes on the wealthy hasn't worked, and a lot of really smart, wealthy people know that. And they are saying, hey, we need to do more to make the contributions we should be making to rebuild the middle class. I don't think top-down works in America. I think building the middle class, investing in the middle class, making college debt-free so more young people can get their...
Okay, so there's a lot going on here, right? So, A, nothing's stopping the rich from making their contributions that they think they need to make to investing in the middle class. B, she skips right over poor people. Apparently the middle class is the bottom of the economic ladder. We don't have anybody below middle class, right? There's a ton of people down there who need help. The bottom of the economic ladder is basically kicked off, through all these policies that she favors, top-down economic planning policies such as occupational licensing and all these barriers to entering the market. Okay. But, she's not for top-down in this speech. Unreal.
Education.
Okay.
Helping people refinance their debt from college at a lower rate.
Okay, so the problem with student loans here is that the rates are too high? No. The problem is, and this is obvious, everybody knows this, and nobody will say it except for Gary Johnson. The problem with college is the student federal loan program. It's making too much money available through these guaranteed loan programs that people can never be forgiven of. If they can never pay them back, that's just too bad. They're stuck with these loans for life. She wants to be able to refinance them at a lower rate. That's the problem. It's ridiculous. Stop the program, and it'll drive the cost down of colleges. And let's remember, these colleges that are sticking people for all this tuition, these are state institutions. Okay, so let's not forget that. She wants to make it debt-free or less expensive. You can do that. There are economic ways to do that, and she's naming zero solutions to that. All right,
those are the kinds of things that will really boost the economy. He said,
Okay, now I did these kind of out of order when I chopped them up. All right, so we're going to fast forward to foreign policy here, and this is actually a major Trump gaffe here that I haven't seen. I've seen one person mention this. It was a local guy here in Americans for Prosperity. He said this is what put him over for watching the debates. So check out what Trump says here. This is the most ridiculous crap anybody's ever said. But no, we don't hear about it in the media at all. Here you go.
They taunted our sailors. I'd blow them out of the water and start another war. That would not good judgment.
In what universe does sinking a foreign naval vessel not constitute an act of war? Well, in Trump's world, where he can just do whatever the heck he wants. All right, let's keep going.
NATO, as a military alliance, has something called Article 5, and basically it says this: an attack on one is an attack on all. And do you know the only time it's ever been invoked? After 9/11, when the 28 nations of NATO said that they would go to Afghanistan with us to fight terrorism, something that they still are doing by our side.
Okay, so here you have her saying that we have 28 nations fighting by our side in Afghanistan. Why are we still chasing around the same 25,000 Taliban in that little country? This is the poorest country in the world. And they have mired the 28 countries of NATO in an endless conflict for the last 14 years. Are you freaking kidding me? She says this. Nobody calls it into question. Nobody says, you see one media person saying, well, what's going on? How come we're not winning this war? How come we're not out of it? Why is it still costing us our men's lives, our treasure? Why are we having to fund this? In other parts of the debate, she goes on about taxes, and she blames Donald Trump not paying his federal taxes for why the debt's so high. She goes on about how, Donald Trump's plan will cause $5 trillion added to the debt. Since when are Democrats concerned about adding to the federal debt, first of all? But no, this all gets a pass. These are the dumbest comments that I think I've ever heard. Well, not ever. We hear them all. We hear them every, election cycle. But these are terrible. Her thing about fighting ISIS, we got to constrain them from Iraq, and then we can start squeezing them in Syria. Basically saying we need to end up in Syria. That's what she's saying there. And then she goes, when Trump blames her and the Obama administration for pulling out of Iraq and leaving a mess, then she goes on to say, well, George Bush agreed to all those timelines. That wasn't Obama. Well, okay, but Obama was running on a platform of ending the wars, and in 2012, that was one of his accomplishments, was ending the Iraq war in 2009. So which is it, right? Okay, so we're not hearing anything about this. Their foreign policy is fine. They can sink a foreign naval vessel, and it's just fine. That's just the way things go, right? But Gary Johnson can't name a city in Syria, and he's completely unfit for the presidency. Come on, man. Like, what? Name a city in Yemen that Saudi Arabia is bombing with all these things. She was bragging about increasing exports under her time as Secretary of State. Yeah, it was freaking weapons. Let's talk about Yemen being blown up with the weapons that she sold to the Saudis. Huh? No, nobody brings these things up. These guys don't get any tough questions. It's all this bull crap. They go on about the economy. They don't make any sense, and they get a pass. Okay, so let's go to Trump real quick. So he said some outlandish things too. Let's do that for a second. All right.
Our airports are like from a third world country. You land at LaGuardia, you land at Kennedy, you land at LAX, you land at Newark, and you come in from Dubai and Qatar, and you see these incredible, you come in from China, you see these incredible airports.
Oh, okay, that's cool. What third world country has like thousands of airports just everywhere? We have airports everywhere, and they're not as good as Qatar's, like 2 or 3. I mean, I get it; it's a small peninsula and it's mostly uninhabitable. But I mean, we're a third world country now.
And you land,
really?
We've become a third world country.
We've become a third world country. Our roads are bad. Our airports are bad. Everything's bad. Okay? Yeah. Give me a break, man. Come on. Go to a third world country and then tell me that our infrastructure here sucks. And then furthermore, his policy solutions, if we were a third world country, his policy solutions are still wrong.
Had we taken the oil, and we should have taken the oil, ISIS would not have been able to form either, because the oil was their primary source of income.
Okay, so we're just going to take the oil. They have oil. We went in there, ransacked the place. We're just going to take it. That's what you do. Okay? You run into another foreign country and you just take the resources so they don't all become terrorists. Hey, I got an idea. Mexico is like super rich in all kinds of natural resources. Let's start another war with them and take their resources. Why should we let them have them? I mean, their drug cartels are, causing all kinds of problems, right? I mean, no. This isn't a problem, right? These people say this crap, and everybody just off it goes. This is water off a duck's back. But Gary Johnson can't name a foreign leader that he likes. Actually, he couldn't. He just actually couldn't remember Vicente Fox's name. It's not that he couldn't name a foreign leader that he liked. It was that he couldn't specifically come up with Vicente Fox. Which, if you've ever engaged in any trivia or whatever, you know that sometimes things like that are hard to think of. I mean, if you haven't done this, then you're in the extreme minority, and don't expect Gary to do it either. Okay. All right. So on that, I think there was one other thing I wanted to cover. Hey, specimen ballots. Get your specimen ballot from your county. Check it out. Know what's on the ballot before you go. Obviously, Gary Johnson is going to be on the ballot in all 50 states. But in Illinois, we have a couple referendums. We have one constitutional amendment on the ballot, and I need to look into it and see, where libertarians are on this thing and put out some information about that. Put out a recommendation, basically. And then in Madison County, we have a tax measure on the ballot that a bunch of people had to petition for. So we're going to cover that in a future video. But now is the time to see what's going on your ballot. So go to your counties and get your specimen ballots. All right, that's it for today. If I didn't cover something, leave it in the comments. Let us know. Share this video. If you're watching this live on Facebook, be sure to share it. Enable live notifications for our page. We're going to be doing these. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe and share this on your other social media networks. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.